You have probably heard the term high functioning, maybe in a video, a podcast, an article, or even from a friend. But what does it actually mean? And more importantly, could it describe you or someone you know? I'm a licensed therapist, and in this video, I'm going to break down what high functioning depression really is, how it affects people, and why it's so dangerous when it goes unnoticed. To really understand it, we need to break it down into two parts: high functioning and depression. Let's start with depression. Depression isn't just one thing, it's an umbrella term that includes multiple types of depressive disorders. Most people have heard of major depressive disorder, but depression actually takes on many forms, including persistent depressive disorder, previously known as dysthymia, postpartum depression, which occurs after childbirth, adjustment disorder with depressed mood, which is triggered by a specific life stressor, depressive episodes in bipolar disorder, which are periods of significant low mood that occur within bipolar disorder. There is also disruptive mood dysregulation disorder, which is a condition in children and adolescents marked by chronic irritability. There's also mood disorder related to a substance or medication, which refers to depressive symptoms brought on by certain substances or medication side effects, and depressive disorder due to a medical condition, when a medical issue like hypothyroidism or neurological disorders contribute to depressive symptoms. So when someone says they have high-functioning depression, what they're really saying is that they meet the criteria for at least one of these depressive disorders. But from the outside, you might never know. That's why the term resonates with so many people. It describes individuals who are clinically depressed, yet still manage to get through daily life. Each depressive disorder has its own set of criteria. Take major depressive disorder and persistent depressive disorder as an example. For major depressive disorder, a person must experience at least 5 of 9 symptoms for most days in a 2-week period. These symptoms include depressed mood, loss of interest or pleasure in activities, significant weight loss or gain, sleep disturbances, fatigue or loss of energy, feelings of worthlessness or excessive guilt, difficulty concentrating, psychomotor agitation or slowed movement, and in some cases, overwhelming thoughts about their existence and the future. For persistent depressive disorder, symptoms have to persist for at least 2 years, but the criteria are slightly different. People with PDD may not experience the same intensity of symptoms as MDD, but their depressive state is more chronic. Key symptoms include depressed mood most of the day, more days than not, poor appetite or overeating, insomnia or hypersomnia, low energy or fatigue, low self-esteem, difficulty concentrating or making decisions, and feelings of hopelessness. So while major depressive disorder is typically more intense but episodic, persistent depressive disorder is lower grade but long-lasting. Both can contribute to what people describe as high-functioning depression. Now let's talk about the high-functioning part. The DSM-5 categorizes depressive disorders as mild, moderate, or severe based on symptom count and intensity. If someone has 9 out of 9 symptoms of MDD, they would be considered severe, while someone with 5 out of 9 would be mild or moderate. But here is where it gets tricky. Severity of symptoms does not equal level of functioning. Someone could have every symptom of severe depression and still show up to work every day, meet deadlines, take care of their kids, engage in social events, and keep their house clean. Meanwhile, another person might only meet the bare minimum diagnostic threshold for depression but struggle to function at all. So high functioning doesn't mean someone has mild depression. It means they appear to function well despite significant internal suffering. Let's take Emma, a 32-year-old marketing manager at a fast-growing company. She's the one everyone at work respects. She's reliable, detail-oriented, and always meets her deadlines. If you ask her boss, she's one of the best employees on the team. But what people don't see is what happens when Emma gets home. Every morning, she forces herself out of bed, even though she feels completely drained. Her alarm rings and she just stares at the ceiling, feeling like she didn't get any rest, but she gets up anyway because she has to. She gets dressed, grabs a coffee, and heads to the office, where she plasters on a smile and jokes with coworkers. Nobody would ever guess that she's barely holding it together. Throughout the day, she's hyper focused on work, but not because she's excited or motivated. She buries herself in emails and projects to distract herself from the emptiness she feels inside. After work, coworkers invite her to happy hour. She makes up an excuse. She doesn't have the energy to socialize, but she also doesn't want anyone to think she's struggling. By the time she gets home, she's too exhausted to cook. She eats a granola bar and sits on the couch staring at her phone. There are texts from friends she hasn't answered in days, but she just can't bring herself to reply. She wants to talk, she really does, but the idea of pretending to be okay feels overwhelming. At night, she lies awake in bed scrolling mindlessly. She feels guilty for being unproductive outside of work. She wonders why she feels so numb all the time. She knows she should exercise, should eat better, should reach out to people, but she doesn't have the energy to do any of it. And then she does it all again the next day, and it's been like this for several months. Have you ever had a moment where you're surrounded by people, but you still feel completely alone? That's the hidden danger of high-functioning depression. If you look like you're fine, people assume you're fine. When someone is visibly struggling, missing work, isolating, showing clear distress, others notice and they might offer support. But if someone is high-functioning, their struggles exist beneath the surface. They might feel emotionally drained but still smile in meetings, disconnected from joy but still go out with friends, exhausted from pushing through each day, unmotivated yet still checking every box on their to-do list, or isolated because no one realizes how much they're really struggling. That's the risk of high-functioning depression. It can go unnoticed until it becomes unbearable. There are many people who feel exactly like this, and one of the hardest parts is that no one sees their pain, but that doesn't mean it's not real. If anything in this video resonated with you, know this: you don't have to reach a breaking point to deserve help. Just because you can function doesn't mean you should have to do it alone. You don't have to suffer in silence. If you liked this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share, and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next one.